Hi, today I'll be talking about how crime is measured in the UK. I'll be talking about the strengths and limitations of the methods used for collecting data for measuring crime and whether or not these are considered reliable or not. I'm also going to talk about the differences between reporting and recording a crime and whether these are happening enough. Okay, to start with, we're just going to look at what the purpose of recording crimes is. It can be used as a statistic which the police can actually use as a tool, and you can use this to help with build community relationships, so there's a trust between the police and the community. It can also be used to help form budget allocations, so the government can put money in the right places, and also for a resource allocation to make sure that police presence is where it's required most. Can also be used for initiative assessment, so basically if anything's implemented to help lower crime in an area, to see if it's effective or not. But it also means that they can, that refers to performance management as well, to make sure people are recording crime efficiently, making the police a bit more accountable for what they're doing. Okay, so there are two major methods for recording crime, I do get them mixed up when I'm talking. The main two are police records and crime surveys. So the police record utilise the Home Office and County rules for categorising crime, but it also utilises the national standards of recording to make sure that crime is consistent across all the forces and at a good standard. Without police recording, people wouldn't be able to report crimes. So it's very important that people do use it, and it's very important for statistics. It covers a large array of offences, from antisocial behaviour to vandalism to less notable crimes, but also victimless crimes such as drug offences or homicide, that kind of thing, where there's not an out-and-out victim here. So recorders are quite a large area. Everything that is reported to the police and recorded is then overlooked by a police registrar who will go through everything that's been recorded before sending that off to Home Office before being used as a statistic. It gives a good idea of what's going on in the areas, looking for trends, but it actually isn't used as a national statistic, which we're going to look at later. Okay, so the second one is crime survey. It's actually referred to as the Crime Survey of England and Wales due to Scotland forming their own survey in 1993. It's basically a face-to-face interview with a member from the National Statistics, not the police. It's a bit less intimidating and a bit more informal. And it's an interview regarding crime from 12 months prior to that interview. Just talking about the victims' experiences with personal crime, property crime, and anything they may have reported. It's just to log everything in a one-to-one environment. It does exclude certain offences such as victimless crimes, which I spoke about a minute ago, which is recorded by the police on police records. So what would happen is on these interviews is once they've done these interviews, it's then taken away and checked over to make sure that everything that's been put on this survey constitutes a criminal act before being used as an official statistic. Okay, so we're then going to look at the differences between the methods. So they do have their strengths and their weaknesses. So just looking at, sorry, I've gone back one. So we're going to look at the police crimes reporting method. Basically, they've both got strengths and limitations. So the strengths for the police are, it covers a large array of offences, and it does give an indication of crime in general, of potential trends, and it gives an insight of where budgets can be allocated and resources can be allocated as well, and if recorded efficiently in a short amount of time, it can be produced as a statistic fairly quickly, and the offence will be dealt with quite quickly as well. It indicates potential trends, as mentioned as well, although it can't be used as a national statistic. So we're going to have a look at some of the weaknesses over on the left side of the screen. They can't be considered reliable because they're not used as a national statistic, and it relies heavily on the police officers to record the offences correctly and people to report it in the first place. The quality of recording can be considered inconsistent just because of changes to the way recordings occur, constant changes. It does exclude some offences such as traffic offences and TV licences, which are normally dealt with by the magistrates court, and can be quite inconsistent across forces as well. So we're just going to have a quick look at the crime survey, England Wales. They've got strengths and limitations too. So it's considered the most reliable go-to for criminal statistics. It's got a consistent methodology. They've used the same process and procedure for years, so it's very consistent. It does cover unreported crimes as well, so offences that might not have been reported to the police. They might feel comfortable in a one-to-one situation, but it does have its weaknesses as well. It does exclude crimes against victimless crimes, type of thing, so the homicide and drug-related thing, just because of the personal nature of those offences. And it does take time to get the statistics from the survey, due to the incidents being 12 months prior to the interview or survey, and then how long it takes to turn into a statistic. So for 2 years before something happens there, becomes a statistics there. It is capped at 5 offences that can be reported onto this survey, and also it is subject to human error if people misremember an offence or details like that. And it also, you're only liable to have this interview if you're part of a home. You can't if you're homeless or you live in a hostel or something like that. It's only people from households that are actually allowed to do this. So, just going to have a look at the differences between reporting and recording crime, because I can't seem to get them right because I keep mixing them up, don't I? But according to BBC News, offence can only be reported by only account as a statistic if recorded by the police. So if it isn't recorded, it can't become a statistic. So it's very important. So basically, reporting a crime is when a victim or a witness rings the police or contacts the police in some way and lets them know that they believe a crime has occurred. This is normally the most popular method is through telephone. The police will answer the phone, obviously, and they will direct this person to the right forces, the right police force, and they will be given a crime number just to reference their offence. And then the police officer then logs this onto an incident log or a crime system. So that's them recording the offence. Sorry, I get them mixed up all the time. The recording facility is a very victim-friendly procedure. Like I said, it's done by the Office Count rules and the crime recording standards for consistency, and it's very victim-friendly to try to encourage people to report offences. But what should be recorded? Okay, it's not always so clear. Basically, police must accept what a victim states at all times, unless evidence to the contrary is presented, and then it can be taken away. If it's crime against the state, there has to be clear evidence first. So they're slightly different, but basically it just means you have to take what everyone says at face value until evidence to the contrary comes. There are occasions where it's not likely it's going to be recorded. For example, if a crime is reported that there's an incident outside someone's house or in a park, a fight for example, and the police arrive and there's no victim, no witness, nobody, you can't really use that, we can't really record that because there's nothing to record. Okay, so we're just going to move on now. Okay, are statistics reliable? According to Channel 4 News 2014, Her Majesty's Inspectorate of Constabulary published a report called Making the Victim Count. In fact, it basically investigated whether crime was being reported or not, and it followed all the police forces, I think 42 police forces over a 12-month period, and the report findings were quite damning. It found that 800,000 crimes a year were going unrecorded. This is referred to as no crime in, and that's 19% of all crimes, which is a large number. Of those, rape and sexual offences, 25% of those were in there, and they're serious offences, obviously. After this survey and these results came out, there was a further survey on police officers, 8,600 police officers, just to see if they'd no crimed regularly or why they felt they had to, if they did. And 20% of these officers reported no crime in offences due to the stresses and strains of work at some point in their career, not particularly that year, 2014. So that's quite damning, really, and it gives you a good idea of the reliability of statistics. But they went on to examine 316 cases of reported rape after seeing the serious severity of these statistics. 37 were unrecorded, and a lot of these incidents were removed from the system as no crime in. And it actually come out that 1 in 5 of these removed cases, obviously you can remove it if evidence comes out later that it wasn't a crime or they're innocent, but 1 in 5 were removed were wrongly moved, so it's quite worrying. Before we go on to this, there was a survey that was brought out in 2020 by Mumsnet. It's a survey, it's the largest survey to date regarding experiences of rape and sexual assault, and what it flagged up was it had 1,600 respondents, which is a large number. 1 in 5 people have been raped, 1/3 was sexually assaulted, and 83 people didn't report it. Report it, which is a large number. So they looked into why people weren't reporting these crimes, and the general consensus was for embarrassment, unsympathetic media, unsympathetic legal system, and unsympathetic society, tongue twister, and low conviction rates, which were like 68%. So it's quite damning, really, that this is happening. But there was a collaboration from the Ministry of Justice, the Office of National Statistics, and Home Office. Basically, they're merging the crime reports and crime surveys to try and get a true figure of these serious offences in the UK. But obviously this is quite difficult, as we've already seen. They're very different. They look at different periods of time. There's crime surveys 12 months prior, the police are quite immediate with their statistics. There's a few differences, so we're going to look at some of the differences. So the crime survey, it actually includes data from 16 to 59-year-olds, and offences from 12 months prior to the offence. So that's quite different from the police, which we'll look at in a second. But it did flag up 436,000 less serious sexual offences category. So basically, like groping, grabbing, it's basically the less serious offences that are coming out on these face-to-face surveys. But when we compare that to the police, obviously that anyone could report a crime. So the police cover a large array of ages, and it's a totally different format, as you can see by the table here. And offences are dealt with immediately, not 12 months ago. So it's quite hard to get these statistics to all match up properly. But what I did highlight is there was 53,700 sexual offences. 16,000 of these were rape, and 22,000 of these were serious sexual assault. So it kind of highlights the differences again from the results, that people reporting the more serious cases of sexual assault, and on the face-to-face interviews were reporting the opposite. So the less serious offences, like say grabbing, groping, that kind of thing. Since the report, it highlighted that only 26% of these kind of crimes have been recorded. But after that, you can see at the bottom here, it's rapidly gone up, the reporting of these skyrocketed. So it was a credible survey, and it's good that this happened, even if it was hard to merge them. So underreported crime. So basically, there's a broader understanding of crime. It's hard to ascertain the true extent of crime if it isn't reported. Unreported crime is actually referred to as dark figures because they're not there, you don't see them, it never hits the police, it never hits the surveys. There could be reasons for this. The main reasons have come out as being too trivial, people not thinking it's worth reporting to the police, fear of repercussions from somebody or the public, fear of public judgment, that kind of thing. Ignorance, so maybe a child will not want to report crime because they don't know what constitutes a crime. Lack of faith in the criminal system. For example, the Association of Convenience Stores 2014, their report showed that only 20% of owners reported a crime, and this was due to that exactly lack of faith in the criminal system. Lack of police engagement is another one, and an example is Statistica 2016 showed that most businesses, 43% of them failed to report vandalism on their properties. that year, 2016, just because of lack of police engagement. So that's some of the reasons. But we're going to move on. So there are some crimes that are omitted from these reports and statistics, and we spoke about some of them. So victimless crimes are omitted from crime surveys for obvious reasons that we spoke about, the sensitive nature of these. And under recording of crimes are not going to show up on crime statistics from the police reports. If it's not reported and not all recorded properly, they're not going to be on the stats, unfortunately, statistics. A damning piece of information that has been exempt from statistics, for example, have been cybercrime here. So basically, it's been exempt till it's been omitted since 2015. Obviously, initially when the survey came out in 1982, there was no internet, so it wasn't really appropriate to have it. It made no sense, obviously. But the year before it came out as statistics, 3.7 million, cybercrimes went unreported. And in the year it actually came out as statistic, it accounted for 40% of all crimes, 5.8 million online crimes, which is massive to be left out of crime statistics. That's 1 in 5 people that year were hacked in some way or form. They were a victim in 2015. So it makes these statistics look very questionable. And so we're just going to touch on this quickly. Crime is a social construct. Social construct is where something is given meaning by society. Sociologists argue that nothing is considered law until it is made to be so by an act. Different societies have different laws. So it's all very dependent on time and place, really. So, for example, homosexuality was illegal in our country, in the UK, for a long time. It's not now, but it is in some other countries. So it has to be considered how, to some people, law can be constructed. For example, statistics are considered by some to be constructed, socially constructed. Marxists, for example, they consider working class crime to be very highlighted a lot in statistics, or white collar crimes kind of go underneath the radar. So there are different views, and different societies operate very differently. So I just wanted to touch on that. So we've just come towards the end now. Just to conclude, crime statistics may not always give you a clear picture of crime, and with a lack of recording and a lack of reporting, it's hard to get a clear measure. And with the exclusion on crime surveys of certain crimes and limitations to age categories, it can be considered to be unreliable. But if procedures are utilised correctly, we can help create a better community through communication, more trust, budget allocations, and make sure that reliable budget and resource allocations trying to put less in crime. Although there are discrepancies between police and crime surveys, progress has obviously happened. We can see that through regular changes which have been implemented to help identify trends for the government. And basically it just gives the police, making contributions from both of these very crucial to help the government develop. The continual development of these two statistics will help stomp out crime in society, and I believe it's very crucial that they continue. Thank you very much for your time.